Okay, so we're looking to make some tent pegs. So I've got a nice cleanish piece of ash here to work with. Probably see there's a bit of a crack already, so I'm going to follow that with my first split. We're going to cleave this in half. We've got some, not quite as straight as it looked. You can see the pith is well off centre, so we shall try and get what we can from this and see how it cleaves. Halfway. Okay, so that's half the log, and we've got 6 billets for some tent pegs. Save the other half. This is one of the bits I've just cleaved. It's not the straightest bit of wood in the world, but it's not bad. And this is what we're looking to get out of it, a simple tent peg. So we've got plenty of thickness there. You can see the natural shape of the cleft is going to help us shape the peg. So now it's just a case of starting to shape it with an axe. Okay, so we've got one of our cleft bits of ash here, and we're going to just quickly make a tent peg. First job I'm going to do is just take off the bark, make sure there's no nasty knots underneath that we can't see that have grown over. Okay, now we can get rid of some of this wood near the pith. We can start to get a little bit pointy at one end. And we can start taking that knocking point off of this end. And we can start to just thin it and straighten it a little bit. And we're looking for a triangular section here. And fairly straight. So I'm just basically truing up these sides here. Okay, so we're reasonably straight there now. A little bit of twist here. Okay, looking pretty good. And then we can start taking some of this off. Again, this will be the pointy end, so I can work. I'm not going to work right to a point because it'll mean it's weak and it might split while I'm working on it, but certainly get the worst off now. And then we can come back the other way and knock this corner off. And this part here will become the notch that holds the guy line. I'm just going to take that off a little bit because there's a little split in there that I want rid of. Okay, now we can taper this end in a little bit. Okay, so there's our basic shape. So now I'm going to put a saw cut in, cut a notch now for our guy line to go. So for that we're going to need a saw, and we want to cut backwards at an angle towards the top of the peg, so it'll actually catch the guy line. And now what I'm going to try and do is come in here and actually split this piece of waste out without the axe finding the bottom of this stop cut. So I'm going to put the axe in and just lever away so the little bits of waste just pop off, and hopefully we should be left with something fairly clean. If not, sometimes you can just refine it a little bit with the saw. I think that'll be okay, we can work with that. I'm just going to clean up any bit where there's bits of tear out. We'll just collect dirt on the peg and rot will set in quicker, so we're going to make sure these facets are nice and clean. And we can start to refine the point a little bit in a minute. What I'm first going to do is just make sure, this is quite an important stage, that as it stands, this point here is almost in line with where we've split this bit out. So this is a weak piece of grain here. If we happen to knock on this part when we're knocking the peg into the ground, we've got the problem we might split this catch point off. So what I'm going to do is just steepen this angle here so that the striking point, when we're hitting the top of the peg, we're going to hit where my thumb is, so you can see the line goes straight down through the middle of the peg, so it's not likely for this bit to then split off. Then we can just kind of bevel these edges just a little bit, just so they're not too sharp, and that's the area that we're going to then strike with the mallet. Again, we can start to just taper this a little bit more towards the point now that this is kind of the final stages. And then we just want to, again, we don't want this to be too sharp. It's only got to find its way into fairly soft ground, but we do want it to have a bit of a point on it. Then just to take these sharp edges off so we're not going to get splinters while we handle it, just push these sharp edges or arises off. Just cleaning up any sharp edges that are likely to sort of wear or damage our guy lines. This has just got a little bit here that needs to come out. Basically what I would do from here would be to leave it to dry for a couple of weeks and then give them a coat of boiled linseed oil so that they're going to last a nice long time. And they're absolutely ideal when you're camping in the woodlands and soft ground like this. You know, they will just go in really easily and hold really well. Best way I find to get them out is actually to kick them backwards and forwards to loosen them, and then they just wiggle out fairly easy. And then they're ready to go. When you go camping in the woods and it's soft ground and metal pegs pull out, one of these you find should hold really well. Right, so we're going to have a look at making a peg on the shave horse instead of axing it this time. So I'm using a draw knife. I've just got the same billet that we started axing with before, and this is what we're looking to get out of it. So the process is basically going to be the same, except because it's more stable holding it this way, I'm going to take the pith off first. And then I'm going to spin it round and take the bark off. And then we're going to tape up. So a lot of the power here is coming from my legs and my back. I'm leaning back into the cut. I'm not using all arm power. You soon run out of steam if you do it all with your arms.
You're using the main muscle groups, aren't you?
That's it. Legs and back are much stronger, so it pays to make the most of them. But we're doing exactly the same job basically. There's elements of this that will be quicker with an axe, and there's elements that will be quicker with the draw knife. And say the proper tool for the job would be a peg knife, but they're a bit rare these days. You don't see many people using them. Well, I haven't come across many people using them. The basic shapes get in there. Now I'm going to just put the little saw cut in. And then, similar to what we did with the axe, but in smaller portions, we're just going to come in and just lever that waste out. So I'm only cutting so deep and just trying to pop that last bit off without
Quite
starting to
controllable with
split.
that shape. With the axe, it's a bit tricky, isn't it?
It is a bit, yeah. I mean, it depends what you're most used to. I haven't made one of these this way for a little while, to be honest, so I'm a little bit rusty in terms of the shaping of it, but it's kind of coming on. The trouble is, as it gets more finished, because you've cut a tapered shape on it,
Yeah.
it actually becomes harder to hold
Yeah.
without damaging it. So you have to be a little bit careful to get a nice grip. Okay, so we've got the taper that way, a bit more this way.
It's on that taper, isn't it?
Yeah, just need to get, basically I was gripping it the wrong, I was on this flat face, I can get more pressure down with the round face. Okay, so I made a bit of a meal of this, to be honest. It's taken a lot longer than it should do, yeah, most likely. So I haven't done it this way for a while. It just shows you the different method for doing it. What you will get off of this straight away is a slightly cleaner finish off the bat, because because you're dealing with a blade that you're not actually chopping with. It tends not to get any little chips and dings in it, and you're pulling it through the wood, not actually chopping at it. So you're taking a continuous shaving rather than little chips. So now I'm just going to take this angle back again, just so we move the striking point away from this notch. What we don't want to do is knock this catch point off.
No,
so I'm just going to bring this angle back. This is a bit trickier on a shave horse because it's quite a downward cut. So I find I actually keep my wrist on my leg and cut across it at an angle, because you're going through end grain.
Yeah.
It's harder to cut. So if you angle the blade a bit and draw through it at an angle, you'll find it'll cut the wood a lot easier. Then just bevel those edges back very slightly.
Not to stop it from splitting out when you hammer in.
Yeah, so basically when the hammer contacts, it's going to contact grain that runs all the way from here right through to the tip.
Yeah.
That way you're focusing your energy and driving it into the ground, into the point, and not wasting any energy putting it in. And basically that's it. Could spend a little bit longer cleaning it up, just taking any sharp edges off, but you can see we've basically got a functional peg now. If anything, it wants a bit off of here. Again, just take these sharp edges off so that we don't get splinters while we're using it. There you go.
Yeah.